Today, we saw quite a controversial discussion going on in Twitch and Reddit and Twitter and wherever you can talk about it, and I figured it was worth looking at this topic. The topic is split pushing, and the topic was basically raised by Igor having DjPernicus on Bastet pretty much every game, and him frequently abusing the fact that Bastet can split push also well, and that way trying to get wins or come back from games that weren't going all too well for them in the first place. And a lot of people weren't happy with that. Why is that? Because a lot of people hate split pushing. Now in this video we'll both talk about the mental side of split pushing, but also about how you can work against it. Let's first look at what really makes split pushing and what makes it so annoying to play against. And when it comes to split pushing, there is, first of all, the problem that it feels kinda like you're backing off from the real fight. Obviously, for many people, Smite revolves around team fights, especially if you started off playing Smite in Arena. You have a feeling that the team fight is a necessary part of winning the game, when in reality it's not. The only thing that wins you the game is getting the Phoenix or the Titan in the end. And that way, split pushing is very much working in your favor. The problem that arises with it is that it's extremely annoying to counterplay. You need to be specifically looking for somebody who is split pushing, who is not participating in the team fights like everyone else. You need to basically dedicate someone to keep that player from doing so, and usually the character you're dedicating to stop someone from split pushing is not as good at stopping them as the character herself is at split pushing. So in the end, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage if you try to follow up someone split pushing. You could ignore someone split pushing and just try to win a team fight and engage off of that, but that's not always as easy as it sounds. In many situations, it's just easier to go for the split push than it is to win a team fight even in a 4v5. Now, when it comes to pro-level teams, I don't really see this being complaint-worthy as it was today, as I feel like a strong coordinated team should be able to work against something like split pushing. Less so on lower levels of play, especially when you're playing with people that don't coordinate among each other. Split pushing becomes very, very effective and very hard to play against. Especially if you're playing with someone that, for example, refuses to get teleport and you're playing teleport on a character that makes that character a lot weaker or something, that just to prevent the split push from happening. At the same time, at least on SPL level, split pushing is kinda boring to watch. A big team fight is always going to be flashy, you'll have those kills and stuff like that happening, and you see how one player outplays another directly. With split pushing, you still kinda outplay them on a mental level rather, but it's not half as interesting to watch when somebody's just using abilities against structures or just hits down structures basically. So I can see where the hate's coming from, but at the same time, people have to be aware that at least at this point, it is just a very fundamental part of Smite, and especially on lower divisions, if you want to be successful, then split pushing is a very easy way to go about this. So now let's look at split pushing and what can be done against it. First of all, it's obviously important to know which gods are good at split pushing. There are 4 gods that I would generally classify as typical split pusher gods, with some extra gods that can also get the job done. So the 4 gods I would name are Bakasura, Loki, Skadi, and above all of them, Bastet. Bastet is probably, unarguably, the best split pusher in the game, simply because her cats do so much against structures, and for example, different from Bakasura, she doesn't have many requirements going into it. Loki comes close, but Bastet just does it even better because she has no problems taking a structure down without having minions anywhere close and not taking much damage from it, if any damage at all. There are other gods that can do it as well, for example Kronos, Nuwa, Mercury, they're all pretty good at it, but not quite on the same level as those who can basically send in either their minions or Calder, and that way just soak up a lot of tower damage without actually having to take any. On top of that, there is obviously the capability for gods that usually wouldn't split push to do so, especially hunters have the option to split push, but that's a lot more rare unless the minion wave is pushed up, and in that case you've basically done something wrong already. Now, the thing that many people don't realize is that there's a relic that directly counters split pushing, and that's teleport. That only becomes a problem when the towers can be pushed so fast that you can't even teleport in time anymore, which can happen very, very late game. But usually with enough wards on the map and teleport on your god, you should not be facing all too many problems in that regard. The problem mostly occurs when somebody wastes their teleport with a split pusher on the map. This is something you need to be aware of. If you have enemy teams with split pushers, then you should make sure that your solo laner at least has teleport, if not another character along with him. You should make sure that the solo laner doesn't use the teleport aggressively to go, whatever, to Fire Giant or something, opening windows for the enemy to split push, unless they know that all the enemy players are around the Fire Giant. And you should make sure that this is communicated at the start of the match. For example, in one of the games today, one of the solo laners actually ended up buying Wrath first, instead of going for teleport against a Bastet. You see the problem with that, right? Obviously you have Wrath now, but sometimes you need a secondary situational relic that will help you in team fights, and you kind of forced out of getting teleport that way, which can be really, really problematic if the enemy team has a split pusher, as it was the case there. So you kind of counterplaying yourself if you don't get teleport early on, or if you're wasting it, effectively not having any option to prevent the split push. In the same sense, obviously, along with the wards, you should have really high map awareness. This is just, it changes the way you have to play. Usually your map awareness is around who is around me, who is towards my sides, who can flank me from where. With split push, it's all of a sudden about who is somewhere else on the map and might do something that could become problematic for the team as well. And that's something you really need to get used to, and a lot of players, especially on lower levels, aren't used to that. And as you can see from the matches today, even the pros sometimes struggle with it. You should have excellent warding around the areas where somebody would potentially have the option to split push, and then you should also make use of that and teleport back early enough in order to prevent a split push from happening when you see it happening. Obviously, it's not always worth defending tier 1 towers. Sometimes you just have to let that go and say, okay, we can get this Fire Giant and 2 kills in a team fight and they get a tier 1 in return. Whatever. Priority targets have to be set. But especially when it comes to Phoenixes, you should prioritize defending those, because they can really turn a game around if you don't. So, when it comes to split pushing, to sum it up, get at least 1 teleport, if not 2. Get it early enough in the game so it's available when you need it, because some gods can split push relatively early. Make sure you ward. Make sure you pay attention to the map, and I'm saying the whole map here, even more than usual, in order to see where on the map someone could be attacking one of your structures. And then also always keep in mind that the split pusher could also back out and come over to the team fight as well. Many split pushers will go for teleport as a secondary relic, and sometimes they have the option to walk up to a tower without having to use teleport, that way coming over to a team fight really quick. This can be really problematic. Consider that your solo laner could use teleport to stop somebody from split pushing, that person realizes it, and it's like, hey, okay, I wait for him to come over here, and then I teleport back over, and all of a sudden it's a 5v4. Even though I can't split push then, I all of a sudden have a fight advantage for my team. This is something that will rarely happen, but it's still something that has to be kept in mind. So, all in all, split pushing is nasty. Split pushing should always be countered and should be considered from the start of the game if there is an enemy that can split push. And split pushing is not necessarily interesting to watch. Would I like to see split push potential being nerfed eventually? I would certainly not be against it, because I've never particularly had fun split pushing, neither did I have fun getting split pushed. But as it stands, it's just a crucial part, a fundamental part of the game, and we have to deal with it. With that, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you all for tomorrow's video. DjSloth, out.